You okay, Rob?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Is it on?
Yeah, here we go.
Hello.
Ready? There you go, that's it. Alright, welcome along to the Tynemouth Surf Cafe, Rob. Great to have you here. First off, let's talk about your early days as a footballer. Where did you start off?
I started at Charlton Athletic as a 15, 16-year-old. Didn't really play. I was at West Ham as a schoolboy. Didn't like it. Didn't like the academy system at all. So stopped playing really, and then started playing just playing with mates on a Sunday really. And then I got just picked up by Charlton when I was sort of like 16, 17, and spent 8 years plying my trade, as they say, in the second division or the championship as it is now. What
position were you playing in those early days?
Well, I played everywhere. I started as a centre forward. I was quite quick, and that's where I made my debut for Charlton as a centre forward. Did all right at the start. Scored I think it was 5 goals in the last 10 games of the season. And then after that, I was a centre forward, didn't score goals, so I had to go out on the wing. They chucked me out on the wing because I was still quite quick. So I went from a centre forward, then I went to a right winger, which is obviously where Kevin signed me as a right winger. But I never liked playing out there. I was sort of like I was okay out there, so I never liked it. I liked always playing in the middle.
Who were your heroes? Who inspired you as a young player?
Well, I think everybody knows Kevin Keegan was my idol. I was a West Ham boy, born in West Ham, but I liked Terry Brooking and Billy Bonds. But Kevin, I don't know, just like all kids, I think Liverpool were winning everything in those days in the 70s, and I had pictures of Kevin Keegan and Terry McDermott, on my bedroom wall. Not in a sexual way, obviously, just makes you all wondering, but no.
Curly perm and that.
I did actually have my hair perm once. Looked like it was dreadful, by the way. But, yeah, no, it was totally he was a superstar. He was the David Beckham, the Gazza of his day, and I just always idolised him, really.
Mm. Professional contract, then. Tell us about your first one.
Well, first, I was working for me. My dad worked in the shipping industry, would you believe? I worked in the office for 9 months. I was on £120 a week. I was on, and then, as I said, I got spotted by Charlton, and they offered me £100 a week. Me being a thick soul, I thought, yeah, I'll go and do that. And, so I lost money playing for Charlton, but I just wanted to. It's very different now to how the kids are now. All I wanted to do was play football. I didn't care how much I earned. I didn't care. I just wanted. I was in the playground. You dream of playing at Wembley for your club or for your country, and that's what I wanted. The money, generally, all throughout my career, it never bothered me. I mean, I went and played for Wickham when I was 40. That was something that would be hard. I'm telling you, I played with some terrible players there, but some terrible pitches. But I just love playing. If I could have continued to play, I would have done.
Can you remember your debut?
I remember a debut for Charlton. I scored on a debut for Charlton. Yeah, it was played against Grimsby. It's probably one of the last games of the Valley. I think everyone remembers the Valley we got the Valley taken away from us. That was my first season. Went into liquidation within 3 games, I think it was. I should have stayed in the office. But, lucky enough, we were bought out. But we had to move grounds. And I made my debut against Grimsby, scored a goal. As I said, the first 10 games of that season, I did okay. I was actually doing all right. And then we went and played at Sellers Park, went and played at Upton Park, which was my obviously the ground I used to go to watching West Ham, but God, it's a long time ago, yeah.
Mm. I mean, we've done a few of these over the years, and I remember bringing some programmes to you, the Charlton programmes. You got man of the match virtually every game. Mad, really, a bit of a
I used to come up here and I used to play against Newcastle, Sunderland and Middlesbrough, and I always used to do well. Always. I would come up here to James Park, I scored 2 one night. Mm-hmm. Past John Barry, so I don't know if it counts, but...
yeah, it does.
Yeah, I always used to work against the North East club. I've never ever dreamed I would actually go and play for one. The biggest, but I just always came up here. It was always bloody rain. It was always horrible. Come up here, used to play well, used to score, used to get around the match, and then go back down south. So it was actually really weird when I actually signed up here. Yeah.
You clearly made an impression though, and you made an impression on your idol, Kevin Keegan. I mean, the revolution was starting up here. Keegan had been here as a player, of course, and done fantastically well. He then came back in as a manager off the golf course, you know, after 7 years, no experience at all. And you know, the Entertainers was born, and you were part of that from the start. How did the conversation about moving to Newcastle come about?
It was bizarre, really. I turned 25, and then manager at Charlton was Alan Kirbishley, and I still see him now. I get on great with him now. And what happened was, I just said, look, I was coming to the end of my contract. I wanted to sort of like, I was doing pretty well in the Championship, and I just said, look, I want to go and play. Premier League had just been started. I want to go and see if I could play in the Premier League. Didn't expect anything like what happened then. Fucking Middlesbrough.
Goes out London now.
I know. So somebody told me that. And Lenny Lawrence was the manager, so he was my manager at Charlton. He'd gone to Middlesbrough. They were in the Premier League, and he sort of like Charlton wanted 700 grand to get back to the Valley. And he put up the money, so Alan Kirby told me, oh, Middlesbrough, fucking hell. I said, well, I'll go and speak to him, but I'm not fancying that. So I got they put me on a flight to Middlesbrough. I actually got an airport there and all sorts at Middlesbrough. Got off the plane at Teesside Airport, and it was raining, it was horrible, it was grey. Got off went and they showed me around. Fucking, that was horrible. I was falling down there, some part they showed me around it. And they showed me like this estate, Ingleby Barwick it was called. Oh my God, it was awful. So I sort of like, I met Steve Gibson, met Lenny, and I said, oh, got back on the plane, got back home. I'm not going up north. So I came back, I was sitting there next to me, I said, Alan Kirby, you run up, how'd it go? Yeah, I ain't fucking going north. It's raining, it's grey, it's cold. I said, I'll wait. And I knew that West Ham, sort of like Billy Bonds, wanted to sign me, but he'd only offered 500 grand, so I'm going to wait. He said, well, I said, Kevin Keegan's coming for you. And I was like, fucking Kevin Keegan? So where's he? And I genuinely thought he was still playing golf in Marbella. Like 7 years he had in there, so I thought, oh, wow. No, he's at Newcastle. I ain't going to Newcastle. I ain't going up north. He said, well, he just wants to speak to you. Terry Mack's going to ring you in 5 minutes. Yeah, he can ring me. I don't care. I'm not going. Terry Mack, again, no one of my idols rang that. Hi, Rob, it's Terry Mack. I'm sitting next to me and said, Terry Mack. Yeah, Terry, I'm not coming. I said, I'm not coming. I said, it's a long way north. I'm just going to wait. Well, Kevin just wants to speak to you. No, he can speak to me if he wants. I said, but I ain't coming. He said, he'll ring you in 5 minutes. I said, yeah, let him ring me, it's fine. So I sort of put the phone down, he's going to ring me. 5 minutes later, and I always remember, Robbie said, it's Kevin Keegan. I was like, oh, I went, this fucking Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan's on. So he said, I booked a flight for you for tomorrow morning to come up and meet me. So I said, yeah, okay, fine. Got on the plane, and this time I took my missus up with me, and I said, listen, we're getting there, we're going to meet Kevin. It's great, I want to meet him, but we're not going north. Right at Newcastle Airport, bigger airport, but it was raining, it was cold, it was horrible. Got there, got St James's Park, again St James's Park was impressive, and I'm like, this is, it's impressive. Met by the steps at St James by Kevin Keegan and the secretary, Russell Cushing. Russell Cushing took my missus off to have a cup of tea, I went with Kevin. And I just whistled in her ear as I was going to say, I said, give me half an hour, I will be out of here. So I went up the stairs, I went in with Kevin Keegan and sort of that, because I'm not really bullied by him, I ain't been bullied by him. And I came out half an hour later, I met my wife, who's still my wife, would you believe? It's really weird for our team, because many of us left. It's true, that. It is. Our team are a nightmare, I think it's just me, and Gavin Peacock was a priest, so I expect that. And I said to her as I come downstairs, I said, pack your bags, just signed 3.5 years. We stayed for 10, so I must enjoyed it.
Okay, so you've signed for Newcastle. Tell us what it was like that first day on the training pitch. We hear a lot of stories about Kevin and Terry, and they just played head tennis. There wasn't much defence. Is that true? Was there any tactics?
No, it's totally true. Honestly, I was walking. We played at Maiden Castle, and we had like an indoor, and it was no sort of like, it was no segregation. So we had all the students as well. Like I remember David Genova, signing David Genova, and he's changing next to this big fat student, and he's looking at him, and there's me and Bez there. We're getting changed, and there's David Genova like that. And he's going, I said, you English players don't look after yourself. David, no, it's not one. But so we trained this thing, and I just remember Kevin Keegan just, and my first morning I got there, I walked through the gym, and it's Terry Mack and playing their tennis. Terry Mack and Kevin Keegan, I can't remember who they were playing against, but they just beat them. And he just shouted, he said, Rob Lee, get yourself a partner. And I'm like, I don't know anyone, I don't know one person here. And then who was walking past it was Fran's car. Remember, I'm taking Fran's car's place, so I'm thinking, yeah, he ain't going to want to play with me. So me and Fran's car played their tennis against Terry and Kevin, and they absolutely battered us. I was embarrassed. They were hopping on one leg and had their hand over their eyes, and Kevin said, Terry, how much do I pay for him? Great start. So I sort of like, I had to try and find another player to play with, and it took me. And then eventually I found Bez, and we sort of like, we played their tennis together a lot, and we eventually we beat them after about 2-3 months. And I remember Kevin, we beat him, and then Bez sort of like went down his ankle. He said, right, he said, you're never playing fucking head tennis again. just because we fucking beat him. But that's what we used to do, and I remember my first training session on a Friday, and on a Friday at Charlton, with Alan Kirby, great manager, very meticulous, he'd give you a 5-page dossier on who you're playing against on a Saturday, corners, free kicks, who you're picking up. I used to hate it. I used to hate Fridays. We'd be out there for 2 hours, corners, free kicks. And I arrived at Newcastle on the Friday. We had a 5-a-side. Kevin and Terry played. We had no goalies. Played this for like 35 minutes. It was just like a 5-a-side with your mates, basically. And as I'm walking off, I've just gone to. I said to Bez, I said, who's taking the corners and free kicks? And he said, I said, if I could do it was coming. He said, I could just ask the gaffer. So I went over, so as he's walking off, I said, gaffer, I said, you enjoy it? I said, yeah, great. I said, but who's taking corners and free kicks? And he said, if you're playing well, I said, just take one. Generally, that's what he said. And that was all for we never did set plays, we never did anything at all. I remember Mark Lawrenson. Remember Mark Lawrenson coming? Again, legend, defender, brilliant defender, Rugby Ireland, World Cups, and Kelly brought him in because I think people were having a go, we're not doing any defensive stuff. And we used to do shooting, 8-a-side, high intensity, but that's all we did. I remember Mark Lawrenson taking, right, so Kelly said, right, Mark's going to take the defenders, bit of corners, and so Bez went over there, Benners, and all us, all the midfielders, and we're playing now. We're doing like a shooting practice with Kevin, and he's over on the pitch over there. We can see what they're doing. He's setting it all up, and you can see Kevin. Honestly, it must have been 5 minutes. He's like that. How long are you going to be, Laura? Well, I'm just setting up some corners. Okay, right. We're taking a couple more free. We're playing this shooting thing that Kevin and Terry put on. It must be from Liverpool 1970 sort of thing. And then again he's like that. Laura, how long are you going to be? Yeah, I'm only been here 10 minutes. I'm just going to. Again, we've carried on doing this shooting practice, and he's gone. Kevin went. Well, that's enough, Laura. I've had enough of that. He said, bring all the lads over. So all the defenders came over, and we just done 8-a-side again. And honestly, that is the only time Laura did any. I felt so sorry for him because he was just walking around, basically just chatting away to the I think it was here 18 months, chatting away, and never did he put a session on ever again. And that's what Kevin was like. He just let players play with it.
We've got youngsters coming through at the minute. It's great to see you again. We've got Elliot Anderson, we've got Lewis Miley. Back in your day, it was the class of '92. We had Steve Watson, we had Robbie Elliott, we had Lee Clark, Steve Howie, amongst others. What was it like to have those lads in and around the dressing room, and did they take you on a social path?
Well, listen, you wouldn't want to be a quiz team. But as listen, I've always said, as footballers, I know Man United had their class nights, but we had some great players coming through. They're all fucking mad as hatters, honestly. I've never seen anything like them, Charlton sort of thing. So I've never seen anything like Newcastle, and I've never seen anything like these lot taking me out. It was just absolute madness, chaos. But I tell you what, they were good players. I mean, all of them went on to have great careers in the Premier League and internationals, and but they were thick. That's not insulting them, by the way. I just said, the story about me. I wasn't the brightest at school, but as everyone knows, Kevin told me that Newcastle was closer to London than Middlesbrough, and I believed him. It's your idol. Your idol's never going to lie to you, is he? Surely he's not going to lie to you and get to a club. But then I remember Kevin saying to me, he said, I said, Kevin, I don't want to go north, it's too far. He said, don't forget, he said, Newcastle's closer to London than Middlesbrough. So I think, is it? And it was close. He went, yeah, he said, we've got no more trains and planes. He said, it's much closer. He said, I'll be able to get you home, no problem in London, every time you're home. I said, oh, okay, yeah, great. And I remember driving up on my first day, I went past the fucking sign of Middlesbrough. He's not as truthful as he makes out of it.
That season, the promotion season, was amazing. We had a great start in the league, went unbeaten until Grimsby arrived with Dobbin, who put an end to that. But that was the catalyst for a wonderful promotion season, and it was capped off with the arrival of a young striker called Andy Cole, another London boy. What did he bring to the team?
Goals, basically just goals. I mean, Cole was just. Kevin built the team around Andy Cole. Really, even when the next season we bought Peter Beardsley, everything was around Andy Cole. You see strikers these days chasing people back. I don't remember Cole ever chasing anyone. Because his job was basically to score goals.
Yep.
So Kevin said to him, "You stay in the box. They'll do all the chasing. They'll get you the ball. It's up to you to score goals." And that's what he did. He was very, very good at it. But our team was totally built around Andy Cole, really, and that's what Kevin saw. And probably that's why he went as well, because I think people cottoned on to how he played, and so I presume that's why he went, and we had something different when Les Ferdinand came in.
I think one of the most iconic photographs is, after the Leicester game, we were 6-0 up at half time, went on to win 7-1. Pavel Srnicek walking around the pitch with a Pavel is a Geordie t-shirt on, which Lee Clark had given him. What's your memories of Pavel?
Pavel's a great guy, Pav. Got on great with him from the word go, really. He was so, he was so quiet. He was a family man, and rarely came out of us. But when all the lads went out, he'd sort of like come out, he'd drive home, never drunk. And I remember seeing, I think it was Steve Harper's testimonial. I think it was Steve Harper was the last time I saw him. I was chatting to him at the bar. He had a glass of red wine in his hand. Now, Pav, what's happening here? He said, Rob, he said, I think he split up with his Pav.
Yeah, he split up with his missus,
I split up with missus, and I found drink. At last, Pav. He was just such a gentle giant, a great guy, and I thought we'd have many years of him being up here and coming out with, because I still Steve Clark, Steve Watson, Steve Howie, the gay John Beresford. I still see all these. we all still get on great. We have every time we come up, we have a great time together. So And I thought we'd had him for a long time, having red wine and enjoyed himself with a few of the Geordie girls, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
I guess one of the other players we've got to pay tribute to was Brian Killer Kilcline. A legend. He often gets called Kevin Keegan's most important signing, you know, when he first came to the club. It was a controversial end. It's funny, I've just found the old videotape of, and I think you...
Yeah, I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
He supplied me with one of them where he gets interviewed at the end, he moves. But he had his hair cut. What happened?
Well, it was an end of season trip. So we got promoted, end of season trip. I mean, Killer was sort of respected by everybody. I mean, he was a larger than life character. He was like a man mountain. But if you didn't know, when I used to play, it used to scare the shit out of him. But actually, when you met him, he was a gentle giant. He was sort of like, he was softly spoken, but a great guy to have around. And then we had Barry Venison as well. He was a great guy when he wasn't pissed. When he was pissed, he was like the devil. And again, I'd never seen anything like it. He went out and he drank champagne, and that's all he drank. And I'd never seen anything like it. A great captain, but Liverpool led. You know, like I'd seen him on telly, but I've never seen anything like him in real life going out. And we always used to play tricks on each other, and we used to do stuff to each other. It went on for years. It still goes. I don't think it goes on as much now, but we used to do that. And that was on an end of season trip, which I didn't go to. I went back home to London with my family. But I've heard so many stories and from Bez. And I think it was Killer was pissed as a fart, absolutely paralytic, fell asleep with his head sort of like slumped on a table like that. And they put his hair out and they cut round it. So that when he woke up and his hair was still around this. And one thing about Killer, he loved his hair, he loved his tash. They cut off half his tash as well. And it was sort of like it wasn't. You laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny. You know what I mean? I think Killer sort of like he went around trying to find out who he was in when he was away, and I think he went to see Derek Zachary was our coach. And Derek said, Fad said, well, he said, I was there, and all of a sudden Killer went smash and hit him. And then he said, so he didn't know he finished it, but he said, I didn't do it. But he smashed like Derek Zachary, and then Bez is round his neck trying to sort of like calm him down. But no one actually ever has admitted to who did it.
No.
The rumours are it was and I would believe them, is Barry Venison. But I wasn't there, so I didn't see any of this happen. But all I know is that when Killer came back, I think he thought the lads did have lost a little bit of respect for him because they cut his hair, and, which was a shame really, because I think the lads had nothing but respect for him. It was a joke that went badly wrong, I think.
Mm. Two players as well in that team that we'll remember, David Kelly and Gavin Peacock, for different reasons. Kelly because he scored one of the most important goals against Portsmouth to keep Newcastle United in the division, and they formed a really good partnership as well, didn't they, in that promotion season? Yeah,
they were brilliant, and Gavin Peacock and David Kelly and Andy Cole, when he came in, we could score goals, we could score goals wherever we were. We've got a lot of goals during that season. But I got on great with David Kelly. I mean, he was a funny guy, good football player as well. Probably played his best football here, but he tells a story when Kevin got rid of him. He was our top goal scorer. He got 28 goals in that season, and I think he said that Kevin rang him up and he said. He thought, I must be giving me a new contract here. He said, I was in the car driving, I must be giving me a new contract. And he said, Ned, he said, you're right? I said, yeah, great, okay. He said, right, so I'm going to sell you. He said, fucking hell, so I've got 28 goals. I said, yeah, I'm going to get rid of you. So I'll get someone else in to replace you. And Ned said, 28 goals, I'm top goal scorer. We're in the Premier League, who are you getting in? And he said, I'm getting Peter Beardsley. He went, good shout. he said, I drove to Wolves.
So that takes us into the Premier League, and Newcastle, they hit the ground running. You guys hit the ground running, and Peter Beardsley's arrival was very important. He was in here a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people say that it was down to Peter Beardsley that Andy Cole became the player he did. Peter won't have it. He says it was all down to one man. He says it's Scott Sellers. He says Sellers was the man who was. He says, if you watch the goals back, and he says, I do every night on YouTube. He says, Scott Sellers is the man who lays the ball in quite a lot. So he was an important player as well, Scott.
He was, but Peter Beardsley was listen, he was something else. He was ridiculous. What he did in training, how he played, and I remember speaking to John Beresford after about a month of Peter being there, and he said, fucking hell, Peter Beardsley here, great, yeah, but like that, great. And he kept pinging this ball out to Bez, and sort of like it was 10 yards in front of you to go to play. He'd done it 2 or 3 times. And then goes, like, he's not as good as he thinks he is he? And then about 2 weeks later, I realised that's actually where we should be. And then he's actually playing in front of us, so we should be there. But he was just such a good football player, and he was always. When I went into midfield, the reason I scored all my goals was the fact that Peter used to come back. He used to leave a massive gap for me to you look at all my goals. I mean, my kids take the piss out of me. All my goals are exactly the same. It goes back to Peter, and I just run, and then he puts me through, and I just score. They're all exactly the same, Dad. And they are. They're all very, very similar. But he could find you when you didn't think he could even see you. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the best players not only I've played with, I've ever seen. Really.
Peter often pulls Mark Honecker as probably one of his favourite signings. Very little said about Mark Honecker, but he was quite an important player in that first season.
Yeah, Mark and Philippe Albert, I think, but he was before he'd done his ACL. I'd never seen a centre half like him. I played with Rio Ferdinand and that with England, and I'd never seen a centre half chip a goalie. And by the way, he did that regular to Pav until they used to get pissed off with him doing it. He was such a good football player, you know what I mean? And he was quick then. Before he'd done his ACL, he was quick. And as a centre half, I obviously watched him in the World Cup in '94 before we signed him, but he was. And I've never seen anybody drink like him as well when he came to Newcastle. He was. And he got the culture of Newcastle. I think Lee Clark and Steve Watson and Robbie Elliott took him out, and he actually got it and loved it, And he was just a top. And you say Mark Honecker again was playing the World Cup with Switzerland and signed for Newcastle. So yeah, they were really good signings for us.
You mentioned a couple of the foreign imports. Another one was, of course, Tino Asprilla. Mad as a box of frogs.
Yeah, Tino was. Yeah, he was. I don't want to say about him. Honestly, I never know what to say about Tino. I still speak to him every now and again because I see Keith's good friends with him, but we ring him every now and again. And all he shouts out down the phone is "bastardo" or "shit." That's all he ever learned. He didn't learn anything else. And Tino would only play well. Tino would only play well at the big games. If he fancied like Barcelona, if he fancied playing against Barcelona as he did, he'd be brilliant. Some of the games he just didn't fancy playing against the Coventries and Norwiches. He was like, they're below me. I'm not playing against these people. And, I remember him playing terrible in one game, awful. And Kevin screaming at half time. We had an interpreter as well, so we had an interpreter with him. So Kevin would scream obscenities, and the interpreter's going, Tino, and Tino's going, what? And we were like, what's going on here? And then he said, look, tell him that if you don't fuck up the next 15 minutes, he's off. And so the interpreter told Tino this, and I always saw Tino get his took his boots off, took his pads off, took his shirt, and said, I come off now. And he went in the shower. He just went in the shower. So Keegan had to take him off. He was mad. I mean, I say we used to take him out in town with all the Geordies. We had this young interpreter he was at uni. So every time we had to speak for the interpreter to Tino, and we used to take great pleasure in getting him absolutely paralytic. I remember being in Julius late at night, and with Tino would be with us, and then we'd have the interpreter laying on the floor. Just laying on the floor, absolutely out of it. We used to go out like twice a week. So this, I was so sorry for him. I don't even know if he got his degree. I'm thinking, sure he did.
Andy Cole, the infamous meeting on the stairs with Keegan and the fans. Tell us a little bit about that from a player's perspective, because he was sold. He's our star striker. He'd beaten Hughie Gallagher's record, but Manchester United came in and took him. It obviously involved Keith coming the other way, Keith Gillespie. Tell us how it felt from your perspective.
Well, listen, I think if you looked at the games before that, I think Wimbledon, he played Wimbledon away, and I think he had a row with Keegan and he went home. We didn't see him for 3 or 4 days. He'd obviously been, it's football, he'd been tapped up by Man United. Without a shadow of a doubt, whatever he says, or whatever anyone says, he'd been tapped up. Wasn't playing well for us. And then Keegan was that sort of guy that, listen, if you don't want to be here, then I'm going to get rid of you. And he was always like that, really. He wanted players that wanted to play for Newcastle, which I loved about him. I remember him telling me, he said, look, when I first signed, he said, I'm going to buy better players, I'm going to keep buying better players. He said, it's up to you to keep up. He said, if you can keep up, then you'll be here. If you can't, then you'll be gone. And that was that, we had Steve Guthrie went on to play for England. Honestly, he was crying one day in training. He said, I've been here like a month. He said, I ain't touched the ball yet. And he hadn't. And Warren Barton said the same thing. He'd been here a month. The way we trained, exactly the way we played. So it'd be 100 miles an hour. It'd be 5-a-side, it'd be 8-a-side, but it'd be 100 miles an hour. The tackle would be flying in, and that's the way that Keegan wanted players to play, and he wanted players to play for Newcastle. And I think if you look now, the players we're signing now, they actually want to play for Newcastle, which makes a great change that we ain't got fucking people helicoptering in from Liverpool or Manchester United, or living miles and miles away. He's got players that actually want to, even the Brazilians. Every time I see on Twitter, they're tweeting places they're out in Newcastle, which is brilliant. That's the way it should be, really.
Yeah. Andy Cole goes. We had to wait a few months, but then Les Ferdinand arrived and took over the number 9 shirt, and it was Andy Hugh after that, wasn't it?
Les, I was desperately trying to get Les to sign for us when I was down in England. I finally got done for poaching. I've been up before the FA. I badgered him, honestly. I fucking badgered him a lot. Because I saw how good he was. When he played against us for QPR, he had everything. Do you know what I mean? He was sort of like he could leap in the air, he could score goals. He was quick, he was strong. He was perfect for us. Especially with Peter playing as well, and David Ginola on one wing, Heath Gillespie on the other wing. He was just perfect, and it took us a few months to get him, but. When he arrived and David arrived at the same time, we were a totally different team, totally different.
Again, moving forward, Alan Shearer, world record fee, £15 million. What was it like to sit just watching this develop in front of you? Because you've been part of a successful team, but this is the club going like above and beyond and showing their ambition with splashing out that kind of cash.
Yeah, it was madness. We just lost the title. We think, but again, we had such a good team. We thought, we'll just do it again next year. And we was actually going to the Far East. So John Hall was sort of like, again, he was way before his time. We're going to China and Japan, and before any of these clubs went to, we was having a 3.5-week tour. And I remember being on the plane on the runway and he getting off. And we heard the rumours that he was going to sign Alan Shearer. So. And the only problem is he cost so much money, we weren't allowed to fly with him because the cost of the insurance of the team plus Alan was too much. So he had to fly on his own for the first 3 months, which is. But yeah, once we got him, and he was, it was having Les and Alan out front was just, I remember Alan telling me, he said, and Alan wasn't really bothered about. Sort of the money, he let his agent do all that. He was more about how the team was going to play. And he said, I spoke to Kevin. So Alan said, so how are we going to play next year then? So Kevin said, I'm going to play you and Les up top, and then Tino, and Peter Beardsley, David Ginola, Keith Gillespie, and Rob Lee as well. And it's like 7 forwards. And Pete went, we're going to go for it this year, he said. So. And again, man, we did. It was mad. It was sort of like to sign Alan then, but we didn't start well again. We went to the Far East, and on the way to Wembley playing the Charity Shield, we had to play a game. I think many people know. We signed Darren Huckabee, and on the way to Wembley we had to play the game against Lincoln because it was in his contract that that's what we did to get him. So on the way to Wembley, we're playing the Charity Shield. We're playing a game on the Wednesday. Got to Wembley, we're all knackered. We got there, we got beat 4-0 by Man United, and then we played Everton. I think we played Everton first game still. We lost to them. It wasn't until after that I think Wimbledon at home, Alan scored, and then all of a sudden we went on some sort of run sort of thing. So it was, and I still maintain, and I always say, if Kevin hadn't left, we'd have won something that year. Without a doubt, we'd have won something. We had such a good team. Him leaving was a major blow at this club, which I think it took years and years for us to recover from.
It's a question you're always going to get asked, but the year before when we didn't win the league, do you have a theory? Do you have a reasoning behind it? You know, we hear all different kinds of stories.
Well, yeah, I do. We were shit in defence. I'm always telling Bez is here, but no. I just think you look at Man United. They had some unbelievable young players coming through, world-class players. And I think they won 17 out of 18 on before Christmas and the New Year, between Christmas and the end of the season, and it was just like, and we because we were like the leaders, we were playing on different days to them, and everyone thinks, it doesn't matter. Well, it actually does, because sometimes when you're sort of like you're being chased, as we've seen this year, Arsenal were getting chased. I just knew they were going to get caught. I mean, you knew that, Man City, and I always remember Keegan saying that the hardest trophy to win is the first trophy. And that's what we found, and Man U were relentless, and they had Schmeichel in goal, and Cantona just come back from his kung fu kick, and they kept winning 1-0, and every time we'd come in we'd win 4-3 or draw 3-3, and how'd Man U get on? They won 1-0, Schmeichel was brilliant, and Cantona scored. And that's all we ever heard, and even that, everyone remembers the game at St James's Park. We beat them the year after, 5-0, but we could have beaten 7-0 the year before. But Schmeichel was unbelievable. He must have saved 3 1-on-1s from Les and Tino, and then Cantona scores and they beat us 1-0, which was I think was a fatal blow for us. Really.
Yeah. Can you remember the conversation between Alan and Les over the number 9 shirt? Because obviously Alan comes in, and how did that get resolved? And what was the knock-on effect of the other shirts?
Listen, it never did. It never did really. Les was raging. I think Alan had come in and said, I want a number 9 shirt. I said, it wasn't that money, I want a number 9 shirt. He was Geordie. And Les had been brilliant in it, before that. Alan also said, I want penalties, free kicks, throw-ins. Typical Alan. No, it was sort of like, but they didn't, I don't think they ever, I think it was the fact that Kevin didn't ask Les, he told him basically. And I don't think he had any option, if that's what Alan wanted. And but then Les was sort of like, we were away, and Les said, right, okay, I'll play 99 then. Well, in those days you weren't allowed to do that, so Kevin said, don't take the piss, you can't play 9. Well, you're taking the piss out of me. And I remember we played one game, we were in China, and obviously we're playing a game, we know we've got signed Alan, Kevin's already told him, I'm taking number 9. And then obviously, because you're not in your squad numbers, it's 1 to 10. It was 1 to 11. So of course, his name in the team, and Les is in number 9, I think. So he's gone fucking mad. He's someone who's taking a fucking piss out of me now, and he threw the fucking shit on the floor. We thought, oh no. But Les and Alan got on great. It wasn't. I don't think Les never had the same sort of relationship with Kevin after that, because I don't think he actually asked him. If you know what I mean. Alan wanted it. He'd rather him say to us, do you mind if he has it? Which never happened. So I don't think his relationship with Kevin ever got repaired after that. But I say Alan and Les still get on great, and got on great before that. So
you've just mentioned about Kevin leaving. Was it a massive shock to you?
Shock to me, absolutely. I mean, I think shock to David. I think Alan, and Alan, because it just persuaded Alan to, sign for 15 million to his hometown club when. He had a choice of Italian clubs and Man United, and So he persuaded him, he persuaded David Ginola, I think Barcelona coming for Ginola, and he persuaded him, look, give me another season because we're going to win something, and Ginola did. And then he sort of like left in the, I think it was in the January, I think, after an FA Cup game, but didn't see it coming. Just didn't. And it wasn't for football reasons. That's the thing. Most times, 99% of the time, manager goes because of footballing reasons. You're not playing well, you're getting beat. But we wasn't. We're still in the Europe. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still with 4th or 5th in the league with games in hand. So it's totally like a different reason which anybody had ever seen. You know, Kevin didn't like what was going on with the bond scheme and didn't like the new guys that were coming in, and he just walked out.
We'll finish up the first half just going through the next few managers really, and Kenny Dalglish came in, and I always say this. I think it would have been an impossible job for anybody to follow Kevin after what he'd done. It was always going to take a strong man to do it. Kenny came in, loved by the players, but not so much by the fans.
The players loved him. I got on great with him, really, really well with him again. But yeah, you're right, the fans. I think the problem with Kenny was he came in and saw it as Kevin's team. Instead of coming in and saying, you know, we've got a good team here. Oh, I just need to tweak it a little bit and we'll be okay. But he didn't. He sort of like, got rid of Bears, which was probably a good decision. Replaced him with Alexander Bastoni, which was a terrible decision. And he just bought some bad, bought some bad players. I think he bought some bad. Got rid of some really good players. Replaced Les with John Dale Thomason, which. He went on to have a really good career, but he was dreadful for us. Des Hamilton, lovely lad. Tell you a story about Des. He was such a nice guy. So he signed for us, and as I say, we used to do tricks on each other, and especially me and Alan used to do tricks on each other. And Alan had come in, and he's got his new Gucci t-shirt, white, bit of blue on it, looked like an England top basically. Lads were taking the piss out of it. It's a new Gucci top, cost a few £100, I don't know. And I was injured at the time, so sort of like Alan's got changed, he's gone out, and Des Hamilton's come in, sort of like, he's come in, he's signing and stuff. So I grabbed this white top, and I said to Des, Des, can you sign this England top for the lads? I know. I still feel, I lose sleep over it as every night. Such a nice lad. But he wasn't the brightest, and he signed this Des Hamilton, and I stuck it back on Alan's. And I just, honestly, I'm like a school kid waiting for Christmas, waiting for him to come in. And, Alan's come in, he's had showers, got changed, he's got jeans on, he's got. Who the fucking hell's done this? And well, it's got Des's name on that, look. And so Alan's only party trick was to actually, he used to rip your clothes up, basically. So you get some scissors and he'd scissor all your jeans up, he'd scissor your trainers, scissor your top. And I just remember Des Hamilton walking out on his first day or second day, and he looked like Robinson Crusoe. He's walking out and he was almost in tears, like walking down the street. I still feel bad about that.
Yeah.
Well, he's such a nice guy. What a great player. He's such a great guy.
Talking of great guys, sexy football.
No.
Rude Hullet.
Fuck him, he's horrible. There's only one good thing I like about Rude Hullet.
When he left.
Yeah. Apart from, he used to like doing on a Friday and he done this 8v8. He used to do foreigners with the British, which I thought was mad anyway. We had me, Speedo, Duncan Ferguson, Stuart Pearce, John Barnes, Alan Shearer, Warren Barton, and they had Pistoni, they had Goma, Dumas, Domi, and so we're playing this, and it's raining, it's horrible, and we're getting beat, would you believe? Half time we're getting beat 2-0, and Rude sort of like, you don't do anything with British players, foreign players, okay. And I remember Stuart Pearce walking towards me, and he's pulling his fucking shorts up, his big thighs are out. And he went, Rob, so next time you get the ball, he said, stick it to me in that big C-U-N-T. That was his exact words, so I said, right, Pearce, I'm not arguing with you. So honestly, the next time the balls came towards me, I was classic. I could give you a 60-40, 70-30. stuck it between him and Rude Hoyle, and Stuart Pearson hit fucking Rude Hoyle. Hit him so hard, honestly, and he went flying over and flying over. So we're pissed. British lads are pissed, and even the foreigners are pissed themselves. I just remember Rude jumping up, thinking, he's going, "Who the fuck? All right, Piercy." Good tackle, lovely boy. Good tackle. That's the only good memory I have of Rude Hoyle, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it any more painful for you tonight. I know how much you dislike talking about him. Okay, let's talk about Sir Bobby, a legend, not just in Newcastle and the North East, but across the world. Every club he managed, and he got the club back on track.
It was brilliant. He was a breath of fresh air coming in after. He had his blue chip brigade, which was me, Speedo, Alan, Shay, and Warren Barn, and he used to bring us in to discuss all sorts of things. And I always say this, and I say it with great admiration for him. I loved him. It was just like playing for your granddad. He'd have his old tracksuit on from like 1960s, and his old Gola boots he still had from the 1960s, and he'd come out and he'd sort of like he'd jog around. He'd like that scene from Kes where the guys. And if it was windy day, we'd definitely be crossing and shooting. Definitely be crossing. Windy day, we're crossing, heading, shooting. We knew it. As soon as the wind came, he'd done that. And it was, but you could never ever get up. You could never get annoyed with him. And I remember and I always tell this story. I remember this is a true story. I was towards the end of actually just before I left to go to Derby, and we were about third or fourth in the league, doing really well. I went to see him. I was 36. And I said, "Oh, listen, Gaffer, could I have or another contract, another year, doing well. I'm still in the team. Don't want any more money." I said, "I just want to do another year to get me 37." And he went, "Oh," he said, "Son, I don't do the contracts." He said, "Freddie Shepherd does the contracts." No, I've been here 10 years. "All right, okay, Gaff." I drove up St James's Park. The next day I went to see. I said, "Freddie," I said, "just like sort another contract." I said, "Well, I don't do the contracts." I said, "Bobby does all the contracts." Yeah, I thought that was the case, Mr. Chairman. So I went back to the ground again the next day. I said, "Gaffer." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Chairman says you do all the contracts." "Yeah, that's right, son. I do all the contracts. I said, "Just like to, as I said the other day, any chance of me getting another year?" "Can't give a new contract, son, so your legs are gone." You know what he said, and I knew, and I sort of like, Glenn Road had been ringing me up. I knew Glenn, and he was at West Ham manager, so I knew he wanted me. So I said, "Oh, listen," I said, "Gaffer, no problem." I said, "Will you let me go?" And he went, "I can't let you go, son, you're my best player." Genuinely what he said to me. And I just, again, I came out and I was driving in with Alan, so he was waiting for me in the car. And I went out and I'm just laughing. He said, "What did he say?" I said, well, he said, "My legs are gone. They can't let me go to be the best player." And Alan's just pissed himself all the way fucking home. But he just couldn't get annoyed with him. I just couldn't. Anybody else would I'd have had a row with it or argue with them. I just walked out laughing. It's just sort of like, it's just... And I still laugh now, honestly.
Great stuff, great stories. That's the end of the first half, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for Rob Lee.